be relations of events and moments to something not itself in the time series. What this something is might be difficult to say, but waiving this point, a more positive difficulty presents itself. Past, present and future are incompatible determinations. Every event must be one or the other, but no event can be more than one. This is essential to the meaning of the terms. And, if it were not so, the A series would be insufficient to give us, in combination with the C series, the result of time. For time, as we have seen, involves change, and the only change we can get is from future to present, and from present to past. The characteristics, therefore, are incompatible, but every event has them all. If M is past, it has been present and future. If it is future, it will be present and past. If it is present, it has been future and will be past. Thus all the three incompatible terms are predicable of each event, which is obviously inconsistent with their being incompatible, and inconsistent with their producing change. It may seem that this can easily be explained. Indeed, it has been impossible to state the difficulty without almost giving the explanation, since our language has verb forms for the past, present and future, but no form that is common to all three. It is never true, the answer will run, that M is present, past and future. It is present, will be past and has been future. Or it is past and has been future and present. Or again is future and will be present and past. The characteristics are only incompatible when they are simultaneous, and there is no contradiction to this in the fact that each term has all of them successively. But this explanation involves a vicious circle, for it assumes the existence of time in order to account for the way in which moments are past, present and future. Time, then, must be presupposed to account for the A series, but we have already seen that the A series has to be assumed in order to account for time. Accordingly, the A series has to be presupposed in order to account for the A series, and this is clearly a vicious circle. What we have done is this. To meet the difficulty that my writing of this article has the characteristics of past, present and future, we say that it is present, has been future and will be past. But has been is only distinguished from is by being existence in the past and not in the present, and will be is only distinguished from both by being existence in the future. Thus our statement comes to this, that the event in question is present in the present, future in the past, past in the future, and it is clear that there is a vicious circle if we endeavour to assign the characteristics of present, future and past by the criterion of the characteristics of present, past and future. The difficulty may be put another way, in which the fallacy will exhibit itself rather as a vicious infinite series than as a vicious circle. If we avoid the incompatibility of the three characteristics by asserting that M is present, has been future and will be past, we are constructing a second A series, within which the first falls, in the same way in which events fall within the first. It may be doubted whether any intelligible meaning can be given to the assertion that time is in time. But in any case, the second A series will suffer from the same difficulty as the first, which can only be removed by placing it inside a third A series. The same principle will place the third inside a fourth, and so on without end. You can never get rid of the contradiction, for, by the act of removing it from what is to be explained, you produce it over again in the explanation, and so the explanation is invalid. Thus a contradiction arises if the A series is asserted of reality, when the A series is taken as a series of relations. Could it be taken as a series of qualities, and would this give us a better result? Are there three qualities? Futurity, presentness and pastness, and are events continually changing, the first for the second and the second for the third? It seems to me that there is very little to be said for the view that the changes of the A series are changes of qualities. No doubt my anticipation of an experience M, the experience itself, and the memory of the experience are three states which have different qualities, but it is not the future M, the present M, and the past M which have these three different qualities. The qualities are possessed by three distinct events: the anticipation of M, the experience of M itself, and the memory of M. each of which is in turn future, present and past. Thus this gives no support to the view that the changes of the A series are changes of qualities. But we need not go further into this question. If the characteristics of the A series were qualities, the same difficulty would arise as if they were relations, for, as before, they are not compatible, and as before, every event has all of them. This can only be explained as before by saying that each event has them successively, and thus the same fallacy would have been committed as in the previous case. Footnote 5. It is very usual to present time under the metaphor of a spatial movement. But is it to be a movement from past to future, or from future to past? If the A series is taken as one of qualities, it will naturally be taken as a movement from past to future, since the quality of presentness has belonged to the past states and will belong to the future states. If the A series is taken as one of relations, it is possible to take the movement either way, since either of the two related terms can be taken as the one which moves. If the events are taken as moving by a fixed point of presentness, the movement is from future to past, since the future events are those which have not yet passed the point, and the past are those which have. If presentness is taken as a moving point successively related to each of a series of events, the movement is from past to future. Thus we say that events come out of the future, but we say that we ourselves move towards the future, for each man identifies himself especially with his present state, as against his future or his past, since the present is the only one of which he has direct experience. And thus the self, if it is pictured as moving at all, is pictured as moving with the point of presentness along the stream of events from past to future. End footnote. We have come then to the conclusion that the application of the A series to reality involves a contradiction, and that consequently the A series cannot be true of reality. And since time involves the A series, it follows that time cannot be true of reality. Whenever we judge anything to exist in time, we are in error. And whenever we perceive anything as existing in time, which is the only way in which we ever do perceive things, we are perceiving it more or less as it really is not. We must consider a possible objection. Our ground for rejecting time, it may be said, is that time cannot be explained without assuming time. But may this not prove, not that time is invalid, but rather that time is ultimate? It is impossible to explain, for example, goodness or truth, unless by bringing in the term to be explained as part of the explanation, and we therefore reject the explanation as invalid. But we do not therefore reject the notion as erroneous, but accept it as something ultimate, which, while it does not admit of explanation, does not require it. But this does not apply here. An idea may be valid of reality, though it does not admit of a valid explanation, but it cannot be valid of reality if its application to reality involves a contradiction. Now we began by pointing out that there was such a contradiction in the case of time, that the characteristics of the A series are mutually incompatible, and yet all true of every term. Unless this contradiction is removed, the idea of time must be rejected as invalid. It was to remove this contradiction that the explanation was suggested that the characteristics belong to the terms successively. When this explanation failed as being circular, the contradiction remained unremoved, and the idea of time must be rejected, not because it cannot be explained, but because the contradiction cannot be removed. What has been said already, if valid, is an adequate ground for rejecting time. But we may add another consideration. Time, as we have seen, stands and falls with the A series. Now, even if we ignore the contradiction which we have just discovered in the application of the A series to reality, was there ever any positive reason why we should suppose that the A series was valid of reality? Why do we believe that events are to be distinguished as past, present, and future? I conceive that the belief arises from distinctions in our own experience. At any moment I have certain perceptions. I have also the memory of certain other perceptions and the anticipation of others again. The direct perception itself is a mental state qualitatively different from the memory or the anticipation of perceptions. On this is based the belief that the perception itself has a certain characteristic when I have it, which is replaced by other characteristics when I have the memory or the anticipation